So I got Matt Henderson on the phone right now, ladies and gentlemen. How you doing, Matt? Welcome to the podcast.
I'm good. I'm good. Good to be here.
So I want to take you back to when I met you, but obviously before that, when did you come to New York City? Because you came from Pittsburgh, correct?
I came from St. Paul, Minnesota, technically.
Oh wow, okay, okay.
St. Paul, Minnesota. I mean, the first time I came to New York was 1988 in the summer.
Uh-huh.
The band that I was in at the time from St. Paul was called Blind Approach,
Yes.
and we had set up. I mean, I'll give credit to my singer Chip. He had set up a summer tour for us that ended with playing a show at CB's with Misery.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and so us, there was five of us in the band at the time, and we had never, we owned a van and we decked it all out so we could sleep in it, and made our way out to New York after about 2 weeks worth of 2 weeks worth of traveling, but probably played a total of 4 shows within those 2 weeks, if even.
Yeah.
And then, New York City, man, Lower East Side, we were hanging out. We were all skinned down back
Yeah.
in
How
those
old were
days.
you
And
then?
I was 18,
Okay.
and we had a lot of people from our area, St. Paul and Minneapolis, that came out with us as one big road trip. It was nuts. But I met Roger that day at the show, because Nausea played.
Oh wow.
And he actually watched the band. I was really impressed with him, the way he just was very sincere. So he watched our entire set, and he came up to us afterwards just to chat, because we had every New York band that ever came through the Twin Cities, we'd always we'd open up for.
Yeah.
The Cro-Mags, back in '87, we played a lot of shows with back in those days. Warzone, we were on we did a lot of shows with them, and the Don't Forget the Struggle
Yeah. The album cycle. Yeah.
tour. Yeah. You name a New York band that toured in those days, and we played with them and got to be, kind of friends with them, because we'd play with them kind of regularly.
Yeah. So
as they'd come through the Midwest.
yeah.
And so when
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, in that town where you grew up, like, how'd you get into that type of music? Like, what was your gateway to that? Like, did you have brothers that got you into it? Did you find out about through people at school? Like, how'd you find hardcore and punk rock in that town?
Yeah, I was always really into music. My father, when I was real young, classic rock was, kind of his main thing. And, he always had a nice stereo, like good big speakers and a nice turntable and like a nice tube power amp. And we're talking 1974, 75, right?
Yeah.
Like Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon would play real nice and loud and clear in my living room, And
That's amazing.
It sound crazy.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, that's, so I just started to get into music, and, with his love of classic rock, which at the time was still kind of, edgy, right?
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin, and, the old Zeppelin stuff. And he never got too heavy, but Zeppelin, Deep Purple, things like that. And then I started getting into the Beatles and then Kiss. So in '77, my old man took me to see Kiss.
Wow. Sick.
And
that
for for anyone that's a Kiss fan, that was the year to see that band. They were at their peak, and stage show was out of control, and but I kind of feel like that was an initial idea of what being into punk rock was, because a lot of people hated Kiss.
Mm-hmm.
People used to Kiss, those dudes, they're freaks, they're fags. I heard they do this, all these crazy rumors and stories. It's like, I don't think so, but they rock. You ever listen to them?
Yeah.
So I was a little bit on the outs from that point, and then the Twin Cities was a real legitimate, metropolitan area. It
Yeah, for
wasn't
sure.
like it wasn't like all rural and farm. And we had Husker Du.
Oh, that's right.
Husker Du's from St. Paul.
That's right.
So my first real hardcore show, I was 14. We played. No, we didn't. I saw Husker Du at 7th Street Entry, which was the small
Yeah, I used to play. Yeah, I
sub room
remember
of
this
First
about
Avenue.
Minneapolis. Yeah, yeah, for sure. Prince's Club.
Yep. And then uh, just so there was a thriving punk rock scene. The Replacements,
Mm-hmm.
Husker Du, and any decent sized band would come through,
For
and
sure.
we had Chicago near us. We had so yeah, really the guy who really first like dressed like a punk rocker that I knew as a kid was my friend Chip, who
Okay.
was the singer for Blind Approach. Like
Yeah.
he was just kind of a regular dude. Wasn't even really like one of the cool kids, if you will, at the school we
Yeah.
were at together. And we knew each other a little bit, but we didn't really hang out. And one day he just rolled up in class with uh, like a spiky flat top haircut, wraparound sunglasses, uh,
Wow.
camo, camouflage pants,
Yeah.
and it was like, yo, that dude's a punk rocker. And everybody laughed at him when he walked into the classroom because it was just like he was a scene.
Yeah.
But I was like, damn, he did it up. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that took a lot of balls, and so now it's like, okay, now like there's a guy I know, and I knew who the Sex Pistols were, and I'd heard some of their stuff, and I thought it was cool, but being a punk rocker wasn't exactly what I was prepared to jump into yet. But
Yeah.
I saw him do it. I'm like, I'm down. And
That's
that's it,
awesome.
man. I mean, we were punk rock together, and I will say, even though there was a scene in the Midwest in those days, people used to want to. Grown men driving trucks would pull over just because they saw our haircuts and they want to like murder us. So it was
Crazy,
crazy.
man.
I was a skinny little kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and that was part of the fun, obviously, though, right? I mean, you're
Shocking
gonna
people.
bug your
Yeah.
hair out. You're gonna, you want a reaction as
Yeah.
a kid.
100%.
So yeah,
And then how'd you find out about the New York scene? Just through records and stuff and fanzines, or?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to buy Maximum Rock and
Yeah,
Roll
me
when it
too.
was still current.
Yeah.
And they'd have the scene report from all the different
Yeah.
cities, and I
Totally.
remember reading about New York and reading about Agnostic Front and the Cro-Mags, but
Mm-hmm.
that was before like New York hardcore like as a thing was really like what it became and what
Yeah.
it is today. I
Yeah.
mean, it was still a strong scene, but it was. I mean, I'm just being honest. At that time, it was just one of many that
Mm-hmm.
we knew about.
Yeah.
And it really wasn't, and so like Victim in Pain was always heavy on the rotation for us.
Yeah.
But again, it was another record in the pile with Negative Approach and the Misfits
Mm-hmm.
and Dead Kennedys and Black Flag
Yeah.
and
For sure.
all
The staples. Yeah.
yeah, exactly, all the fundamentals. And I mean we loved it. Victim in Pain was on the definitely in the top
In the
rotation.
top. Yeah.
And then eventually, so like Donahue, do you know that Donahue?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Show? You remember
Donahue. Yeah.
when they did when they had all those fools on there,
Yep.
Jimmy and
Roger.
and
Yeah.
I think Roger. I know Vinny talked
Vinny
and
talked, yeah.
Harley and
Yeah, man.
it was. I mean, they had everybody there. Anthony coming out,
Yeah.
Alexa.
That was
right?
like, so you watching Phil? You saw it in Phil Donahue, like holy shit.
Well, I had it on VHS. Like I somehow knew it was broadcasted, so I videotaped it back in those days, right?
Yeah.
And so me and our friends would watch it, and we just bug out. And then GBH comes to town, and I was a huge GBH fan.
I love GBH
my
too,
hair
man.
My hair was, all spiked out. I was
Yeah.
bleached and everything. I mean, that was
That's
they were my
awesome.
shit. And then, but on the flyer, I see the Cro-Mags.
Oh
I'm
shit.
like, oh shit, that's that's that crazy bass player from the Donahue show,
Oh
right?
shit.
And So I walk in, and they had already started back in those days. The First Avenue, like a lot of times, the opening band would actually be starting before everyone gets in the door, and
Wow.
that was it, man. That was it. I was like,
Once
I
you saw
mean,
them, you're like, holy shit.
I mean that was a life changer for me, man. That was and
That's
and not
amazing.
only were they like a badass band on stage, but after the show they just hung out with everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know, and they were a scene off the stage, man. I mean, it was just that
Yeah.
raw,
Energy.
crazy New York vibe
Totally.
that you're like, yo, these dudes. And then, you know, we actually wound up hanging out with Doug Holland later that day, and then we start talking, just chit chat, and I realized this dude's a Hare Krishna,
Oh
and like
shit.
all these different layers of like, you know, bugged outness start to unfold. I'm like, let me get this straight. These dudes, you know, because punk rock was like anti-religion kind of, right?
Everything.
You
Yeah,
know, and
man.
I
Fuck everything.
this
Yeah.
dude this this dude's talking spirituality and God, and I'm like,
Yeah.
really, you know, and they
Yeah.
look badass, they sounded badass, they're vegetarian,
Yeah.
they got this
Conscious. Yeah.
spiritual thing going on, and I'm like, this is it, man. New York's onto something here.
That's
And
amazing.
then you know, then more bands just started coming out, you know, and I mean they were already out, but they, you know, the Sick of It All 7 inch was, you know,
Yeah.
what label was that? Jesus, was that
Revelation 7 inch.
Revelations,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, all those Revelations, you know, Underdog. We loved when that Underdog 7 inch
I
came
love
out.
an underdog so much, man. It's great bands.
Um, you know, so you know, Warzone,
Yeah.
Sick of It All. I mean, everybody knows the roster. Once that really started
Hitting.
kicking in,
Yeah.
that was it. You know, we were New York strong.
So when you first went to New York and played your first show, were you excited? Were you nervous? Like you said, Roger was there. That must have been a great experience. Like to go and have that experience. Like
It was. I mean, I really, like I said, we had a good show. At least I felt like we played solid. You know, like
yeah,
we represented the band well. But there wasn't really a lot of people watching us except
yeah.
for Roger, and you know, just the fact of being on stage at CB's, of course. You know, I
Fuck
mean,
yeah.
that was an honor. And so after talking with Roger, you know, I actually that was my last tour with that band. I was quitting that band because I was moving to Boston for school,
Oh
and
wow,
I'm like, well, I guess you know that's you know I went to Berklee College of Music, right? That was my next step,
that's
and I'm like,
amazing.
I guess you know that's I didn't really see myself playing hardcore music anymore. Not because I didn't love it or didn't want to do it, but I was like, I just had this idea that I needed to kind of figure out what I was going to do with my life as far as, you know, I was going to college. That was kind of part
Yeah.
of the deal,
What was your
right?
major? Major in music, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, my goal was to focus on playing the guitar as well as learning how to, you know, record
That's
in a studio
awesome.
environment.
And so did you? So
Um,
were you in high school? You got good grades? Did you like school? Did you? Obviously, you graduated because you're going to college.
so my high school had a 16-inch recording studio.
Oh, that's
Sorry, 16 track, 2 inch, 1 inch recording studio tape, and
wow.
we recorded Blind Approach's first 7 inch there.
Holy
And so
shit.
in '87, because I grew up with the son of the guy who ran that studio and that program,
Perfect.
so he'd always kind of give me a little bit of leeway.
Yeah.
But the majority of my time in high school, officially, was a 2 hour block of time per day because that was the class.
Yeah.
And then I'd always skip other classes and just hang out in the studio, and
Yeah.
you know, that was just what I did, man. I mean, I played guitar and I was in bands ever since I was like 10 years old,
Yeah, that makes me happy
you know?
because Max right now is has a band and he's recording at a studio at his school. It's like sponsor. It's like an Adidas Sound Lab, and he's recording. And the labels, he got signed to the school label, and like he's doing creative shit at his school now with music. It makes me happy because the way you turned out as a great, amazing guitar player and musician, that's amazing because that's where Max is getting started actually in his high school. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's one of those things where it's like, if you want to do it, you should do it and have fun with it. The
Yeah,
challenge, I think, and I'm sure you can relate to this, is, you know, is it going to be your profession and your means to make a living and
100%.
pay bills.
A lot of sacrifices
Because
too,
I
man.
mean,
A lot of sacrifices.
I mean, look, I as much as anybody, I appreciate the spirit and the passion, but unfortunately, spirit and passion don't pay the electric bill or the mortgage or put
Exactly.
food on the table, right?
Exactly.
Some are more, some wind up being more fortunate than others and being able to figure out how to do that.
Yep.
But sometimes it makes sense to have that passion and do it, but know
Have a
that you're
plan
still
B.
gonna,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So,
exactly.
that was the band's last show, and so you're gonna go to Berkeley College. And so then what happened? So you're talking to Roger, and
Well, so I mean, it was. Well, I'll tell you this much. So when we were talking to Roger, Roger had basically let us know that he was probably going to go away for a little bit of time.
Yeah, it's a vacation. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a upcoming vacation,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like, oh man, that's and I don't know, it's kind of weird because at that time, hardcore was starting to sort of wane a little bit. I mean, I'd say Cro-Mags were like John had quit Cro-Mags, and they were kind of going through a different phase.
Yep.
AF was on hiatus because of Roger's situation.
Yeah.
I don't remember what Warzone was doing, but it was, like bands had things were transitioning.
100%.
So I'm at school at Berkeley, and my plan was to go all the way through. I didn't want to take a break, so they offered summer courses. So I'm like, I'm just gonna bang this out, right? So I was it was basically my third, I guess, trimester, if you can consider it. I was there for the summer, and I was working part time at this video store in the Boston area, and I had a girlfriend at the time that she called me at the video store, and I'm like, hey, what's up? She said, Roger from the Gnostic Front called, and he wants to know if you want to join the band and tour Europe.
Holy shit.
And I'm like, come on. I'm thinking, I told her, I'm sure, I said, that's probably one of the guys from back home, cooking something stupid up. And
how many years had gone by, you think?
It was a year and a half.
Okay.
So,
wow.
And then she gave me the number that he left, and it was a New York number. I was like, oh, all right, well, maybe.
Holy
and yeah,
shit.
it was Roger, because he was living in Staten Island, and a couple of guys from the Twin Cities had actually moved out to New York and lived for a little while and lived at that house. Like,
wow.
A good friend of mine actually lived at that house in Staten Island and was good friends with Willie.
Okay, yeah,
when he was out there. And then, Blind Approach in Minnesota, we were like the Agnostic Front. We were like the skinhead band.
Totally.
And we had our Nausea, who was this band called Misery, and they were like crust punk.
Okay.
And Misery was good friends with Nausea. So that singer for Misery, his name was Al, he wound up actually moving out to New York and replacing that guy Neil, who was the first male singer for Nausea.
Yeah.
So now he's singing in Nausea. Wow, so when Roger got out and got home and wanted to start the band again, Steve Martin, I guess, he was doing the Relativity thing at that point, and he was moving on to do other things. And Al, who was living there at the house, Roger said, yo, you should call up Matt Henderson. He's out in Boston. You remember him, right? He's in Blind Approach, I mean, Roger and I weren't real close because, we didn't know each other real well, but he definitely knew what Al was talking about. And so, I mean,
that's crazy.
I got that call and I was like, yeah, of course, I got to do this, man.
What about school? You just like, fuck it, I'll come back to it later?
Mm-hmm. And that was kind of one of the things of that school is they kind of promoted this environment of, you're a musician. If you get a gig, you should go do it. And then you come back, if you want to, or maybe you don't.
Yeah.
The gig's that good.
Did you ever come back?
I did. because AF broke up technically in '93.
So how many years you toured them before? Like, how long would that last?
So I basically did that European. We did a little U.S. run in the fall of '90, and then went out to Europe in the winter of '90, and then came home, and then we had that Super Bowl at the Ritz. Remember, it was that the Relativity video that they did.
Yeah, it was amazing. Live in '91. That was great. Great video. Great show.
Yep.
Such a great lineup. One Voice too, right? Yeah.
Well, we didn't have One Voice out yet, so that was before One Voice. And then we recorded One Voice in late '91 and started touring for that in '92.
I thought you guys played something off One Voice at that video, though, didn't you? I thought there was a song.
We had that instrumental we called Infiltrate.
Yeah, another one.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot we did that.
Yeah, man. Did you was that your first time leaving the country too when you went with AF to Europe?
Absolutely.
Damn.
Yeah, and that was a crazy tour, man, because we all know the MAD family and how they set up tours.
The routing and shit, yeah.
And things like Roger at the time we went out had decided to use not them, but these and I think MAD was probably, I mean, they were still kind of young as well, right?
Sure,
I mean, that was 1990, and I don't know. I think technically, didn't the Gorilla Biscuits, weren't they the first ones to go out there?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
And Nausea had gone out, but they, they were true to their crust punk scene, you know, and they basically, so we used the promoters they used, which were these Italian brothers, and they were part of that crust punk scene, and we basically
straight
toured
squats. Yeah, squats.
We toured squats through Europe, and it was kind of gnarly because
I'm sure
the accommodations were never great.
No buses. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was real haphazard and wonky, and man, we plus you got to remember that Agnostic Front had a lot of people still think Agnostic Front is a Nazi skinhead band, but I guess everybody needs an enemy, and for the real ultra political European punk rockers, every once in a while they decide that Agnostic Front was their enemy, and we had a few run-ins with some wild situations out there.
Yeah, people trying to boycott you and stuff, like protest against you, or just like show up and like not.
Yeah, there was that, and even like kind of like try to flex a little bit, and in a goofy squat punk type of way.
Mm-hmm. How long was that tour?
Oh God, it felt like
a year.
Yeah, it was a good 4 weeks. It was long, man. And it was a mess in all angles you could think of from a tour standpoint. It was a complete mess. But I'll tell you, and I don't know if you probably had heard the story, but Roger got deported like a week into it.
Well, here's the deal. I talked to Freddie about that on the same podcast, and he wasn't out there when that happened, but you were out there for that, right?
Yeah.
So what exactly happened?
And we had, so Roger wasn't a U.S. citizen, right?
Yeah.
He was technically Cuban.
Cuban.
And so when it's public knowledge, so he was a convicted felon, right?
Mm-hmm.
So on paper, he wasn't the most attractive individual to come into a country, right?
And then add like a bunch of tattoos in that time that his tattoos.
Exactly, right. Sure. And those nutty Italian promoters that we had, they almost wanted to like rub people the wrong way, especially in those situations that would always shoot us in the foot. We'd be like, what do you guys? Can't you guys, put the attitude away for a minute so we can just get through this border without getting fucked with?
Exactly, like too punk for their own good. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like fuck everything. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And so we were passing through Switzerland, and they were like, nope. I forget exactly what options there were, but it was basically go home, go back to the States now, or you'll have a worse situation where you might not ever be able to go back, that type
Damn.
of thing. And Roger's like, well, I got to go home, man. And we're like, what? And our roadie at the time was Mike Shost. Do you remember him? He was on the road with us,
Yeah, I
I
do.
think, when we were
I
together
remember his
with
name.
Sick of It
Yeah,
All.
yeah.
Um,
Oh
which
my.
I forgot, right? Before we went on the European tour, didn't we? That's when I met you.
Yeah, on the Sick of It All
We
Agnostic
we
Front tour or something like that. Yeah,
we did those shows. We did a string of. We did like a tour.
that was
I mean,
90.
even up through Canada.
Wasn't that 90?
It was 90s.
Yeah, because that's
Absolutely.
when I met
Yeah.
Freddie too.
Yep. And we
Wow.
did. We were in Canada. And because I'd known EK from Warzone,
Yeah,
and he was drumming with Sick of It All at that
yeah.
time. You know, and being, having Craig in AF was, he was always had that good relationship with Sick of It All.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah.
that was how I got to know everybody. That was fun, man. I remember having good times then.
So, yeah, that's what me and Freddie talked about. Too. It's actually when we met was at 90. So wait, so how far into the AF tour are you before he gets deported? Like how many shows deep?
Like a week, like
Damn.
probably 4 or 5 shows, and that so Mike Shost so Mike Shost then winds up singing for us. And I
Holy
hand it to
shit.
Mike. He did a really good job, and for the most part, he looked the part because he was an ex-Marine.
Yeah.
So he's kind of in shape. He had a big chest piece tattoo, and I was impressed that he learned. I mean, not to say he didn't know the songs, but I mean, he had to learn all the words to every song in the set and go out there and own it. And
That's crazy.
he did it. But keep in mind, right? I told you he's an ex-Marine,
Yeah.
and he was a good dude.
Yeah.
But he had a crew cut. He had a mustache,
Oh shit.
and it just helped amplify that AF, a bunch of fascists,
Damn.
Nazi type. Yeah, so it was.
So you guys finished the tour without
was
Roger, the whole thing?
Yeah, and on top of that, there was we had money stolen from us. We got arrested in somewhere in Germany. I forget what city it was, but because the paperwork they claim was not proper with the van that we were renting.
So
on the tour.
they arrested all of you guys?
So they took us all in. They locked us all up.
Holy shit.
And I don't know. They're not speaking English, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times in Europe, you find people who can speak English pretty well. Well,
Yeah.
these German cops decided they weren't speaking English at this point, and so I didn't even know exactly what we were being charged with, and we were all in separate cells.
Holy
And
shit.
I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen here. And then all of a sudden, a few hours later, they decide to just let us go.
Weird.
But Mike Shost, who was actually our tour manager slash singer, the cash in our briefcase was gone.
Oh man.
And we tried to talk to the cops, and they're basically like, do you want to be free, or do you want to make this harder on yourselves?
They took the money probably for sure, man.
I mean, somebody did. And so after that, things just kind of kept getting worse. We all got sick. It was wintertime.
Jesus, dude.
And then our flights got all jacked up. And thank God, at the end of it, this kid, his name was Petey. I can't remember his last name, but we called him Petey Greens because he was vegan.
Okay.
And he graciously put us up for like 4 or 5 days because we had nowhere to stay and no money. And we had to wait for our flight that we already had the tickets for back in the U.S. to get home, right?
Yeah.
And so we got home and we had like, I don't know, maybe 100 Deutschmarks each and like a lot of coins.
Oh my
and
God.
Roger's like, what the fuck happened? Where's our fucking money? And he thought we fucked it all up. I'm like, bro, are you kidding me? Like, you have no idea what we went through out there. It
Holy,
was,
sounds
it was a mess,
terrifying, man.
man. Yeah,
Holy shit.
it got pretty intense, bro. It really did. But that's experience that, I mean, that bond that me, Vinny, Willie, and Craig, uh, went through with that. I mean, they're legitimately my family, you
Yeah.
know?
And it could scar you for life too. Freddie used to say that
Mm.
some tours and vans back in the day would like take years off your life. Like a 6 week tour through Europe in a van is just insane, dude. It's crazy.
Yeah, it can work you for sure.
So then you get back, and then what do you do when you get back? Like, what happens next with AF? Is record a new record? Is
Yeah, I mean, basically that was kind of, when I think back on it, I mean, I was living in Staten Island, right?
it's
And
crazy.
I didn't have a car. I didn't own a car. I didn't have a job. So the only money I had was through whatever the band would bring in.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of a slow period for the band because we were writing and
Yeah.
trying to, focus on writing to do a new record instead of playing shows.
Yeah.
So I was really kind of isolated out there. Like, yeah, technically I'm in New York, but it was Staten Island, which,
Seems really
it ain't
far from
Manhattan. I'll
it.
just say
It's
that.
not Manhattan. Yeah, and so that's when you guys are working on. Was that working on One Voice then?
Yeah. And so, me, Willie, Craig, and Roger, we basically just were on Staten Island and isolated from everybody else and whatever was going on. And we would just jam and just write songs. And
Wow.
it's funny to me when I think about it because in a lot of ways, like the those songs, that music was kind of like, for me, I was big on, like, I had just really sunk my teeth into Killing Time, Bright Side,
Great album.
and I was
Perfect
like,
album.
how did I not catch this when it was originally released? I'm like, these guys are geniuses.
Amazing,
And, like, I
amazing
mean,
album.
like, that was like obviously, everything AF did as well was an
Totally.
influence, and,
Yeah.
a lot of, I mean, I got tons of influences, even, Metallica was always a big influence for me as far as, like,
Yeah.
writing style, but
Bright Side.
and
Killing Time.
who else just started to come up too, though, was, like, Biohazard. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh shit, all right, now there's a whole different spin.
Whole
And
different spin.
and another big record at the time was Suicidal Tendencies, Lights, Camera, Revolution,
Great album. Great band.
right?
Yeah.
And the other, what was the other big one at the time was Pantera, Cowboys from Hell.
Okay.
Not even Vulgar Display of Power, but Cowboys from Hell, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, and then you had Quicksand, and you had, so, like,
Yeah. So much shit.
musically, I don't know, it was a weird time for hardcore.
Mm-hmm.
And, personally, I'll just say my view of One Voice, which I'm proud of and love, but it when it was released, it kind of musically was a little outdated compared
Okay.
to what everybody else was really starting to get into and kind
Yeah.
of transitioning into something that was, a little different than traditional hardcore and a
Yeah.
little older style of metal.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and I think part of it was us just being isolated over there in Staten Island,
Staten
listening
Island.
to just a few different records.
Yeah, I mean, One Voice is. I
But
think it's a great album. Though. I mean, there's so many great songs on there. That time, I think that's. I think more people appreciate it probably even later on with that record too. It's a classic. You know what I mean? Like obviously most of the AF ones are, but
yeah, I mean, like I said, I mean, the thing I'll say is that record, I mean, and something to be proud of too, is like, it doesn't matter. I don't care what anybody else is doing. We liked those songs.
yeah,
Roger was just pouring his heart out in his lyrics because of
yep,
all the things he had just gone through.
yeah,
So, and I I still am. I'm very proud of it, but it was something I wasn't expecting at how, like, when it was released, people were like, really? That's what you guys think the new AF record should sound like? And we're like, yeah, why not?
But that's what I love about AF.
You know, and
They've
you're
always
right.
done that. Their own
To,
shit. Go ahead.
and that's how it should always be. I don't care who you are, what you're doing. You know, you
Yeah.
should do it because it's right for you.
Yeah. So how long were you in AF before the Madball thing started for you?
Well, so we, you know, when you look back at it, I really wasn't in AF for very long. I mean, I joined in like the summer of '90, and Roger basically had made the decision that it was time to shut it down in like late '92.
Okay.
And so we knew that was the plan. He had made the decision he was going to go down to Florida and go to the Harley Davidson Mechanics School.
I remember that.
And he just wanted to start doing something different, you know?
Yeah, respect that. It's awesome.
It's life, you know, people decide to do different shit. And so we had a final tour set up in Europe in early '93. And that was our last tour. And Roger, being the entrepreneur that he is, because he remembers when we did go out to Europe that first time, a lot of people would always ask, "Oh, is Madball with you? Is Madball?" Because you remember, like, a Live at CB's record, you know, he'd bring Freddie out.
Yeah.
And that first Ball of Destruction 7-inch, I mean, people in Europe really loved it, and they'd ask about him all the time.
Yeah.
And so Roger always remembered that. He said, "We need to put out another Madball 7-inch so we can bring it when we go out there that last time." And
smart.
You know, give people what they want. And on top of that, once we had the 7-inch, we basically brought Madball the band out there, which was me and Vinny on guitar, Roger on bass, Willie on drums, and Freddie singing. So we opened up for ourselves all through Europe.
That is so crazy, man.
Yeah, and then when that tour ended, we came back, and you know, Roger moved, and I went to school, but we had Hoya. You know, we just said, you know, let's just do it for fun, you know?
Yeah.
Why don't we just, you know, play a show here and there, and you know, we're not gonna take it seriously. It's just gonna be just for fun because we enjoy it, right?
Totally.
No expectations. And we'd play shows like the gas station. Remember the gas station?
Yeah, man, for sure. We played there too. Yeah.
Which I think was one of the true, if not the very first, one of the very first H2O performances with what I think Armand played drums.
Yeah.
Isaac was on bass.
It's true.
And you guys had one song,
and
I forget the name of the song.
My Love Is Real. Yeah, it's the first song.
My Love Is Real.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's crazy. Yep.
Yeah. And then, you know, so we're just having fun playing, and then pretty soon it's Howie Abrams at Roadrunner. Yo, you guys should do a record. We're ready to sign you guys. We're like, I remember being at the apartment I was staying at the time in Boston at school. I'm like, fuck, really? I'm gonna sign to a label and get this all started up again.
Wow. And Howie Abrams was originally at Relativity Records too, right? For Sick of It All. I remember that. He was there first.
And NAF. I mean, he was our A&R when I was doing One Voice. Yeah.
Wow, dude.
So, you know, I mean, and look, bottom line, I love this music. I love playing it, and I love the guys I was doing it with. I'm like, I guess this is just who I am and what I do, man. So, yeah, let's go.
So the Madball records, that was, I mean, Set It Off and Demonstrate My Style, those two records are like classic, perfect records. Like your writing and guitar playing and all that. I think it's such a game changer, I think, in hardcore for sure. Like your writing and your riffs and that sound, and like it started like a new chapter in the hardcore scene for sure. Because obviously there was people crossing over doing the metal thing with the AF, did a little bit with Liberty and Justice and Cause for Alarm, and some of that was a little more metalish. But Madball with the rhythm and the grooves was something totally different that never happened in New York hardcore until Madball. Like that really pocket groove, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I always thought it was there. I mean, Cro-Mags had, I mean, Mackie Cro-Mags, right? I
Yeah, of
mean,
course.
any, right? I mean, any song I'd write when I think of drums. I was a drummer before I was a guitar player, and I was
Okay.
never like pro level drummer, but I'd put some work in and
Yeah.
was decent. Um, and when I think of writing, it's the beat. I'm thinking, it's the pocket first,
The
and then I
pocket.
put a riff on top of it.
Yeah.
And so Mackie was always a part of that. And like sick of it all. Let's just look around, right?
Doom, 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 doom. Yeah, yeah, it's true. True.
Yeah, right. And shit, Leeway, Born to Expire,
True. Dun,
right?
dun, dun, chicka, dun. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know,
But there's
so
something different about Mad, but there was something different about Hoya. Like all you guys together, there's the rhythm and the tightness and the
well,
power on
yeah.
stage. And
So, and I gotta. It's very important to take the time right now to say. I mean, Hoya. It's the flavor. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like
man. Yes.
I will I never have a problem saying it. I'm proud of a lot of the stuff I've brought to the table.
Yeah.
Um, and there was there, but there are some there was always these moments where Hoya would just bring something and be like, "That's it, bro. Like that's what I want to sound like," and you
yeah.
just did it. And because he played the riff for Set It Off. He's like, "Yo, I wrote a new song," and you got to remember, like, it wasn't like I wasn't really critical
Mm-hmm.
of other musicians by any stretch, but I
Yeah.
mean, I had been like 3 years now into being at Berklee College of Music, right? So
Yes.
just, I mean, I was I dug into music and theory and practicing and really mastering the art for
Yes.
a while now, and I'm playing with this guy from New York who I loved his attitude, and I loved him as a person, but I really didn't know if he could play.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
And now it's like, well, let's see. And before him, I'm playing with Craig, and Craig's a beast of a bass player,
Beast.
right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, I hope it works out. And
Mm-hmm.
he had no problem learning the songs we were playing at the time, and I mean they were simple songs.
Yeah.
So I was still like, okay, I mean he can do that, and that's great, but what's it going to be like writing a record with him?
Yep.
And then one day I was in between classes in Boston, and he called me up. He's like, "Yo, I wrote this new riff," and you know, I was like, I mean, I hadn't
wow.
heard a riff like that. I was just like, yeah, 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 yeah. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Uh, and I was so happy when I realized that the type of songwriter and the fucking types of riffs he was
and
capable of
grooves and
delivering.
shit. Yeah, man. Like,
And it was awesome that we really, I think him and I built a situation where we brought the best out of each other. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah,
It's like I feel like I'm capable of writing things that I think are solid, but if I get the chance to work with him, it's like then it goes to another level.
it's amazing because all of it clicked together so well together too. Even not just in recordings and the songwriting, but just also live too. Like the energy and how tight you guys were, and just always, always in the pocket. Just everything was always. You got always Madball's a band that's always kills it. Always been tight from day one. Like it's just always been like that. I mean, I've never seen a bad Madball show or a show with no energy, whether it's 100 people or fucking 20,000 people. I feel like the energy is there and the shit's real. Like there was, there's always this. I always say there's only one Madball. There's always been some imitators, but there's only one Madball. And like lyrically, they lived it, and everything they played was like always 110%. And those records that you were on part of are just like they're untouchable records, man. Especially because for that time and what was coming out, and they were like kind of the new faces of hardcore, even though the 7-inch had been out for a long time. But like, because Freddie was a little kid, now Freddie's back and he's growing up, and now he's making these records. It's just it was incredible, man. I thought when it came out, you know.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate everything you said there. And I mean, it was it was a fun time because I don't want to say that we were solely responsible for it, but I will say that the fact that we when we started playing as Madball after AF was done, it was great that all of us were all hanging out together still, and it
100%.
and that you guys all started up and doing bands too. And I mean,
Yep.
man, when we'd have H2O, Crown of Thorns, Madball,
Dude.
Bulldoze,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we had that mid '90s resurgence of New York hardcore that
Yeah.
that was amazing.
It was,
and
man.
and and a lot of the bands are still. I mean, look at. I mean, did you think before H2O started that you'd be where you are today, and that
No.
H2O you would be in a band that achieved the success and longevity that H2O has?
No, not at all. I was talking to Freddie about it today. Like, it's crazy that, like, what he was going to do. Like, and here he is now. And Madball's as big as they ever been. We were talking about it. It's crazy. Like, just the persistence of it and believing in yourself. And actually, I feel like the friendship too, like being friends with your bands in real life and not just as a business and not just being on stage to make the money, actually love each other and talk to each other and became like a real family. That's a
Yep.
big part of staying together for a long time, is actually enjoying what you do and actually loving the people you're doing with. Regardless, you bump heads once in a while. You guys are like brothers, you know what I mean? So it's,
Exactly.
but like, yeah, dude, like hanging out with Freddie in the Lower East Side, and he just kind of right before things started going for Madball, and I was just making H2O stickers and weren't even a band, and just like going to hip hop clubs and just going to shows, and then all of a sudden, like,
Limelight, remember Limelight?
yeah, sheets and pillows, all that, and then like all of a sudden we're in Germany and we're playing with Madball in another country. Holy shit! Like, we're not in
Right.
New York anymore. Now we're like in bands and we're playing. It was, dude, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Man. It's crazy.
Yeah, there was a lot of times, a lot of memories of us like bringing New York to other parts of the world,
100%.
and we would just be there all together, hanging out like
Yeah.
we were in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Like it was
Oh my God. And one story, if you want to talk about, there's a story that it's a H2O Madball story, but it's, oh man, when we had to meet up with you, so we went to Europe on our first tour, and it was me, Rusty, Eric Rice, and Max, and we weren't sure who was going to make it on the first tour because it's the first real tour, and you have to gel with people on a tour bus. You have to like live with people. Like, just playing a couple shows and going to a couple rehearsal spaces doesn't really, you don't do the tightness of the band. And something had happened that was an issue between you and our drummer. And we knew that there was no cell phones, there was nothing, but we knew, like, oh my God, we're gonna play with Madball on this one date in Germany, and these two are gonna see each other, and who knows what's gonna happen. And there was this whole thing building up to it, and like, you guys are my boys, like you guys I grew up with, and then we have a drummer in the band that just joined our band that we know, and he's our drummer, and but it was such a crazy situation. You guys end up fighting a one-on-one. We were outside in the field behind the festival, and it's like all of us in a circle, and like we're all friends, and it's just, and he's the one that nobody really knows, and that, but something happened. It was just, that was a crazy moment. It was like, it wasn't like set up. There wasn't like no text messages. Just like we knew that month down the road, that show, we're gonna see each other. It's crazy, dude. That was crazy, right, Matt? Yeah.
It was crazy, and I have a standout memory of that was you and I sitting down before.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And I didn't. It wasn't. It was just what I remember and what I always appreciated about you is your loyalty, and it wasn't like I felt like you needed to take a side, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like, I had an issue with that guy, and it was a serious issue.
Yeah.
That I had to resolve.
Yeah.
And I mean, anybody that knows me for any length of time. I'm not like, I don't try to be a tough
You
guy, and
don't.
I'm not out
You
like
don't,
trying
and I
to,
wanted to say
do
that
this
about
or
you
that.
too. Through all the bands you've been in, and all the people you've been around, you've never acted like that ever. You've always been the same person, same humble person. You've been around crazy shit just like I have,
Right.
and you probably did things to protect yourself, protect your friends, like any normal person would do. But you never came off
Exactly.
like you never fronted like you were like a New York tough guy ever, and I love that about you, and I always respect it about through everything you've been through. So yeah, so this moment was probably the first time I've ever seen you even get into something like this, but it was something dealing with a situation.
Well, and
So
that right, and that's what I think. That was, again, appreciation, respect to all the people who I consider friends today. Right. I mean,
yeah,
they all understood, like, okay, this is a serious situation, and we support Matt,
yeah,
and you were one of those people,
yeah,
and I felt, I didn't feel great about the situation being your drummer.
yeah,
Because that caused complications for, you and your
yeah,
band. But
yeah,
I remember you being just very specific and say, "Yo, I know Matty. Matty's my friend, and this is just what it is. So,
yeah,
let's do what you got to do, man." And that was it.
yeah,
And again, I didn't. I had no intention of putting you in a position of having to choose a side, and
yeah.
then
Of course
you
not.
making a
Yeah,
decision that you needed to write him off or anything like
yeah.
that. But ultimately, that's basically what happened, and I always appreciated your handling of that situation.
Thank you, man. And then we're not talking about Todd Friend. Todd Friend's amazing. Him and Maddie never fought Todd Friend. We're not talking about Todd Friend. We love you, Todd Friend. Um, yeah, that was crazy. Then, dude, they did all those big festivals you guys are playing. We get to watch you guys play these crazy festivals over there because Madball really connected in Europe, man. They really connected a lot from day one. I feel like.
Yeah, for one reason or another. Yeah, and I'll give respect to Roadrunner,
Yeah, they were
who is,
everywhere.
they're technically a European label, right?
Yeah,
Out of Holland, and
yeah.
man, they would treat us like kings out there, and
Mm-hmm.
they definitely believed in the band, and they helped set things up to get us in the right spots with the right people, and there was plenty of people that just seemed to get it and appreciate it, and
Yeah,
those were good tours, man, good times for
yeah. It
sure.
was amazing seeing you guys, just the rise of Madball and like playing those shows and just knowing Freddie and where Freddie came from and just meeting him in New York as like such a young kid and then that all of a sudden he's a grown man, he's an amazing front man and just it was just those are just
Well,
crazy
he was,
times.
yeah. I mean, he's another one I got to take a minute to really um, give some serious credit to, right? Because talking about Hoya and the way he
Yeah,
could write songs and what he delivered.
yeah.
Freddie was the same way. I mean, um, I don't, I feel like I can work good with a singer as like a producer, right? And I can have like vocal ideas and phrases that I think are going to work real good within a song,
Yeah.
but I can't write lyrics. I think they always come out hokey and just
Mm-hmm.
kind of generic. And
Yeah.
Freddie just has that. I mean, he's a very passionate guy. He's
Yes.
very, he wears his emotions on his sleeves, and
100%.
um, and he can put words on paper that are like, man, I feel what you're saying here,
Mm-hmm.
and everything he ever sang about was what he felt. It wasn't,
It's all real
I know
shit.
Madball
Yeah.
had this kind of label of this, a tough guy band, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just Freddie. Freddie, I mean,
Yeah.
uh, and you talk about being a front man. I mean, when we were on that not European, it was a States tour. It was 92 in the summer, and it was Obituary, Cannibal Corpse, Agnostic Front, and Malevolent Creation. So
Jesus Christ.
three established death metal bands and
Yeah.
Agnostic Front. Um, and Roger wound up dealing with a hernia
Oh,
like
that's
the
right,
last week
dude.
of the tour,
That's right.
and he had to go home and get that handled. So we were mid tour, and Freddie had to sing,
Wow.
and I mean those were big shows,
Holy
and he had to
shit.
do the whole set, and I mean he was on the road with us, right, and it was
Yeah.
great to have him on the road with us. You know, it was just he was a lot of fun. And then
Yeah.
he would come out and sing a few songs, right? And do like that song Over the Edge on one
Yeah.
voice.
Yeah.
Him and
Yeah.
Roger would kind of do like this back and forth thing that I always
Yeah.
thought was great. Um, so, you know, it wasn't like he hadn't stepped out on stage to sing
For sure.
yet, but doing that whole set, you know, I mean, that was a big job for him.
Yeah, that's
And what, I mean, that
crazy.
was 92. So he would have been 17, just turning 17.
Fuck.
Um, and he killed it, man. And I was like, this kid
He's
is,
built for this shit. Yeah.
he's a bad motherfucker. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And so, it was great to just see that thing come out of this
Yeah,
young
dude.
kid. That was like, he's a natural.
Yeah. He got a lot of shit out through music for sure. Vented a lot of ways. We talked about that too on this episode too about New York. Is that he got a lot of rage out of him through music, and it's awesome. It's such a good way to vent through music and lyrics, and just energy he had on stage was just unstoppable. You know, like
Yep.
and still has it today.
Yep.
To this day, still has it. Like shit. Almost 30 years later, still has the exact same. It's still a powerful band. You know, it's amazing. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, so for you now, here we are now, and you're a father and a husband. You have 3 kids, and I know you played with Madball last couple of years, some random tours here and there with them, and um, you're also in a band called the Eulogy, which is an awesome group of people in band. And we play shows you guys do. That's out in California. But like
Yep.
looking back on that now, and you know, and what you're doing now, and we're all grown up and different. I mean, you feel like obviously you're probably gonna say yes, and I ask people the same question, but all the values that you got from playing music and seeing the world, obviously it goes with the rest of your life, and you carry that as a father, as a husband. You know what I mean? You use a lot of those values you learn from, I guess, hardcore. You know, it sticks with you.
Yeah. No, it's true. I feel very fortunate. I really do because, you know, those experiences, good and bad,
Yeah,
made me, you know, the person I am today. And I got some real life experiences under my belt that I can use in different situations for
yeah,
different reasons. And I just feel, you know, and I mean, we could spend a lot of time talking about a lot of our friends that didn't make it, right?
nah, man, yeah, a lot. We lost a lot of friends. Yes,
I mean, a
yeah,
lot. I can't. It amazes me the list I could rattle through.
it's true.
And so, but you know, like you said, I mean, what set it up? I mean, I joined Agnostic Front in '90.
Yeah,
I'd been playing in a hardcore band as a kid, you know, for years before that. So we're going well over 30 years now, and I still play. I still go to shows.
yeah,
You know, I'm still friends with guys like yourself that
yep,
I know are still doing it too.
yeah.
And you know, I mean that to me that really tells you and anybody else that might be wondering, you know, that this is a real thing for us. I mean,
It is,
it's to
man.
me it's our culture.
It
It's our
is,
culture.
hundred
It's
percent.
who we are.
Yeah,
It is not a fad. Obviously,
no way.
it is not. It you know, it's not the fashion.
It's not something we
Uh,
just did at a certain time. It's something we do for our whole entire time here. You know, it's like,
it's who we are.
yeah, it's who we
It's
are.
just
Yeah,
who we are.
yeah,
And I mean, my closest friends come from the experience, you know, sharing experiences through that scene and
yeah.
you know the music that you know and the travels that we had together and all of it, man. And yeah,
Yeah, and you never.
I'm
I feel like you never aged either. You still look really young, and I feel like that's from playing music and doing what you love to do. I think too. Obviously, we got families, and that makes us happy too. But like, I feel like that definitely. I don't know. Playing music and doing what you love definitely keeps you young. But another thing too, I was going to say too is that I'm sure it happened to you with Agnostic Front. That's going to be kind of the current theme of the New York thing is just the New York ball breaking and the got to you games and just fucking with each other mentally. And I didn't realize that because I moved to New York. It was just tough love from the New Yorkers, like breaking your balls and teasing you or giving you a nickname or just poking at your weaknesses. But and like what
yeah,
Squirm said today, he's like, yeah, but then a second later somebody would be fucking with you and everybody would fucking rat pack them. It's like people had your back, they were your family, but they broke your balls all day long, but they loved you. I think it's a really New York kind of like tough love thing that I got when I moved there. You know.
definitely, definitely. No, you know, Mindy, my wife and I, we met in New York City, and
Yeah.
you know, I'll always have a special place in my heart for the New York that I remember and
Me
relate
too.
to, which is not the New York of 2019,
No, hell no. It's so
right?
good. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that city has changed quite a bit,
Yeah.
as I'm sure a lot of other places on this planet have,
Yeah.
over a 30-year period. But you know, at the time, I mean, New York was a. I mean, you had to have respect for that city
Hmm.
and the people that were in that city, and you'd be made aware real quickly, if you didn't treat it with the right amount of respect,
100%.
because you know, you had to, you had to. It was real, man. It was, you
Yeah.
know, and that was one thing. I mean, that's one of the reasons I wanted to be there. I felt that sense of energy and that
Yeah.
loyalty, and
Hmm.
it really was a family, man.
Yeah.
And
Dysfunctional family.
yeah,
Yeah.
dysfunctional is all hell for in a lot of ways, but to your point too, right? I mean, we all. I mean, look, we all are on some level, which is what brought us there to begin
100%.
with, right?
100%, dude. None of us came from like the most
Uh,
normal home structure, family structure. None of that. Some were single families. Some lost their parents. You know, some had different childhoods, and they all kind of went. And we met in New York, and CBGB's was like our home every Sunday, and just all the shows and the hanging out. The people was just all people we connected with on a mental level, on a music level, you know, on just social level. I mean, I feel like we all connected for a reason, and we're still connected to this day, like almost 50 years old, fucking grown ass men with children and shit. You know what I mean? Still talking about those days because those they were so important to us. They shaped who we are now. You know.
yep, I totally agreed. Totally agreed.
Um. All right, man. Well, I appreciate your time and I appreciate everything I always say the word contributed to the hardcore scene and those records and everything you've been a part of and stuff that helped shape my life and shape so many people around the world's life. That the music was so powerful. It wasn't on the radio or on television. Maybe a couple times it was here and there, but it was such a strong force lyrically and the message and everything it embodied that it spread like wildfire to people and all these underground communities everywhere. And I feel like there's nothing like hardcore music, and there'll be nothing ever be like hardcore music, you know, for us. And it really it changed everything for us at the right. It hit us at the right time, and it's been our best friend. It's been everything for us, and I'm honored to know you and that you contributed a great part of that, and you actually brought amazing guitar playing to it and really great riffs. You know what I mean? Like, as it was, because a lot of the shit was just straight. Nobody's really playing like the punk stuff we listened to was just like super fast and super crazy and sloppy. But then like the Madball had this like super tightness to it and like rhythm, and it was just a different balance. I know you named a bunch of bands that you said had that balance, but for me, obviously that was inspired into Madball, and I know that Raw Deal was that was a big thing. Hoya loved too, which is another great band. But Madball itself, it stood on its own as its own thing. You know, it's hard for me to listen to Madball and think what bands inspire them because I want to listen to Madball. I just hear Madball. Me personally, I know it's inspired by a million bands, but for me, when I hear Madball,
Right.
I can't hear particular things in that those albums that remind me of anything else but Madball. It's crazy because other bands I can listen to, like, oh shit, that sounds like Ramones, or that sounds like The Clash, or that sounds at 7 Seconds, or that sounds like this melody. But Madball just was Madball. And I know, you all you guys together made that, and I think it's changed music forever. I think as far as that genre of music, and also I think Madball's influence goes into other metal bands too, and other genres of music too, for sure. It wasn't just hardcore.
Yeah, I mean, possibly for sure. Number one, again, appreciate everything you said. I really do appreciate the way you the response you get to the music and what we've done, and that goes for anybody that happens to have appreciation for it.
Yeah.
It's still always a little maybe awkward is the right word to use for me, because I have such respect for the bands that influenced me that I know in my mind, built to me what New York hardcore really is.
100%.
And I'm honored to be a part of it. Right.
Yeah.
I feel what I can say with confidence is that I gave it the respect it deserves, and I felt like I contributed in a way
100%.
that proved the fact that it's I get it. I'm here with you guys. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Your contribution was greatly appreciated though, and actually is part of a legacy of New York hardcore now that we're forever there. And
that's just it. I wanted to make New York proud.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, if I'm going to be a part of this and I get the honor of waving that flag with you,
you
better be damn straight. I'm going to bring my A game and represent it as best I can too.
100%. Because, and for us too, H2O wasn't even none of us are born in New York, and we came to New York together, and we started our band there, played our first show, then we got accepted into the family tree of everybody, opened their arms to us and put us in the New York family. So we were honored to be a part of that too. And I feel like we try to represent that and still represent that, even though none of us live there, to the day we die, because that's what kind of put us on the map, and that's where our roots are fucking firmly still in the ground there. You know what I mean? We go back to New York, there's so many memories there. Like you said, it's not the same place, but our history is there and our beginnings are there, and they're always going to be there. And I love New York for that time. We got to live there when it was scary. It had a smell to it, going to shows. There was the energy in the streets outside, and next to CBGB's might get hit with like a milk container full of piss from the rehab center next to it, and fucking all the crazy fights and insanity, and being scared at shows, but also being excited to be there. And you knew the people not to fuck with, and knew the people to say what's up to. Like, there was that crazy energy, respect, and fear, and fuck, man. I was so nervous when I first moved there, but then when I got part of that family, it was amazing. You felt like invincible hanging out all these different peers you had there and stuff. And probably for you too, because you moved there from another place too, and like you probably looked up to some of these people, like listened to their music, and you get to obviously play in AF and fucking be part of that world, and then a kid from out of town, and it's crazy, man. It's
absolutely, yeah. No, it was it's an experience that I'm just very, very happy and feel fortunate that I was able to have it and get through it.
You survived it, man. Yeah.
I survived it. There were times where it broke me down, but at the end of it made me a stronger person.
I was going to say, if you made it through that first fucking tour that you described earlier, then if you can make it through that, you can make it through anything after that. And I'm not sure if it got worse for you after that, but that sounds insane. You made it through that, almost like fuck it, that was your first training. You know what I mean? Like, you made it through that, and fuck, dude.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, that was real, man.
I mean, getting on your first bus must have been an incredible feeling. I mean, I remember when buses started happening, beat the street, all those buses in Europe. You look forward to go to Europe because you knew you were gonna get a bus over there easy. Just made life so much better.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, the later tours were definitely. I mean, touring's hard just from the fact that you're away from home, and you always gotta be on the go.
Yeah.
And et cetera. But no, it definitely got easier from there.
Well, was the whole time you were playing music, did you ever think about your plan B? And did you think like, shit, I might have a career doing this for a long time? Or were you worried about, about the future?
I always thought of a plan B, man. It was, it's not easy, you know.
It's not
I know you relate to this too.
100%.
It's you know, and you're a father, you're a husband,
Yep.
you know, you have that sense of needing to be a provider,
Yep.
right? And you know, it's I'm thankful that I get the sense that all of my friends who are still out there doing this as their main gig,
Yeah.
right? Appear to be thriving and making it work.
Yeah.
Because when I was, you know, when it was my primary job, I was always broke, bro, and it that wore me down quite a bit.
Wow, man.
Um, you know,
Yeah.
so
It was such different times back then too, obviously, and like that's crazy. Yeah, you were just living from fucking tour to tour, I'm sure, you know.
yeah. It just I never, you know, again, anybody that knows me knows I'm not driven by money
Yep.
and you know attaining wealth of any sort. But again, I got three sons now who
It's
I'm trying to just
amazing,
I mean
man.
shit just I got to just buying a new bat for my 13-year-old to play little league this season.
That's
Killing me.
awesome. Do you coach the teams too?
I do.
That's so
Yeah.
cool.
I got three boys in three different teams this season,
Oh my
and
god, dude, that's crazy. Three different freaking teams.
yeah, and it's I'm not the head coach on any one of those teams this season,
Yeah.
which makes it easier for me.
Yeah.
Uh, but I'm out there, you know, and I feel good about that too because I'm dealing with kids. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm kids who want to go out and have fun and learn something, and you know you get that camaraderie, and
Yeah.
you know you deal with pressure, but you try to help kids stay positive and
Yeah.
learn how to you know deal with pressure and overcome you know challenges and stick together with each other.
Yeah.
It's all a lot of good stuff. I mean, I'm not a jock. I didn't grow up.
Yeah.
I didn't grow up as a jock. I was a punk rocker.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you weren't really into sports,
But
yeah.
this I've always enjoyed baseball and the little league community that I'm a part of in Lakewood, California is really all about family
That's awesome.
and a good community with your kids and so
I love
that's what
that.
keeps us doing it. Yeah.
Do you consider yourself an optimistic or pessimistic person?
That's a great question. I would say I'd have to say optimistic
Yeah.
over pessimistic for sure.
Yeah. Maybe
Because
you seem like you may be
I
more like a realist. That's my wife calls herself. She's like, I'm a
that
realist.
that's what I'd say is probably most accurate, right? Because
Yeah.
you know I'm not naive. I
Yeah.
don't truly believe that everybody I run into is always going to do the right thing and be loyal to me the way I would
Be back to
probably be
them.
loyal to them.
Word.
But at the same time, man, you know, I'm 40. I just turned 49 years old, and I have made a lot of friends, and just run across. You know, I've got good people in my life right now
It's
that come
awesome.
from all
Walks of
different
life.
avenues,
Yeah.
you know, and there's a lot of good people out there, and I'm
There
happy
are,
about
man.
that.
So I'm the same. You born in 70, right? Yeah, I'm
Yep.
catching up to you. I'm coming up to you a couple more months. I'll be 49. It's crazy, man. Almost to 50, man. Dude.
Bro. I yeah, if I stop and think about it, then I can bug myself out about it. But I do not think of myself as a 50-year-old man walking
Yeah,
around these
no,
days.
dude. It's because we played music for so long because we still never really kind of grew up, even though we have responsibilities. I don't know, man. I don't. It's crazy.
I I think you're right. I do. But what's funny to me is, you know, I like I don't know what Max listens to. I mean, obviously Max knows, you know, our music
Yep.
and certainly seems to enjoy it and appreciate it a lot. But I'm sure he listens to things that like you're like you
The
listen.
new hip
Who are these
hop,
kids? What are
new
they?
hip hop stuff. Yeah, man, for
Oh,
sure.
is he into the new hip hop?
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. And then like the new
And
death
and,
metal,
and
new death metal too.
okay.
Yeah.
Because you know, I forget who was talking to me about this. One of my friends who plays guitar too. I just can't think of. which one it was at the moment, but talking about like style of music and what we consider heavy. These guys call them dad metal.
Dad metal.
Dad metal. So like I might be playing something like with the band I'm in now, the Eulogy. I'm thinking, man, we're killing it right now. But these young kids are like, oh, it's like a dad hardcore, man.
Like Black Sabbath. Black Sabbath is so old to them. They're like, that's not hard. They don't think it's hard. And for us, it's like Black Sabbath is so hard. That's the backbone of everything hard is fucking Black Sabbath. Shit.
Absolutely.
There'd be no hardcore Metallica, none of that for that, but yeah.
But, I was a kid when I was 17 years old and someone started trying to talk to me about Chuck Berry or Buddy Holly. I was like, yeah, okay, come on, man. Have you heard, have you heard the Cro-Mags yet?
Yeah, that's
what I'm listening to.
And final question: Do you have like any daily rituals? Like I know you work out and stuff. Is there something that it keeps you positive during the day, or something that you do every day? Like you have like a daily ritual or something, like coffee, or just even if it's just a coffee or taking a walk or whatever. You have something that you do every day. You feel like you have to do every day.
Yeah, I mean, I got my morning cup of coffee. I guess that's a ritual, but that's that's kind of a no-brainer thing. Exercise is a big part of my life for sure.
Yeah, you've always been in shape your whole life, I think. Yeah.
It really helps stress. I need that exertion.
Yeah.
It gives you kind of a opportunity to push yourself and just
100%.
I
think it's key, especially
I hurt my shoulder.
I know you told me that. You have to get surgery or no?
No, thank God, no. I thought for a minute I was going to have to, and I had an MRI done, but I saw a specialist. He's like, nope, it's just.
Oh, that's good news, yeah.
He's saying it's tendonitis of the rotator cuff, and I think I got it from jiu-jitsu.
Oh, wow.
So.
Yeah, you can't go as hard as you used to go hard either. That's the one thing. We don't feel old or look old, I don't think. But maybe when you start exerting yourself ways that you used to do when you're younger, then you start getting weird cricks and things. You're like, okay, I get it. My body's changing, like.
Well, yeah, exactly. Believe me, when I got the results read to me back from the MRI from my primary doctor, right, not the specialist, but just my normal physician, and she used the term osteoarthritis.
Oh, man.
Get out of here. Right? But,
it's such an old word, too. You only heard about your grandma having arthritis when you're young. It's true, like that with arthritis. It's like, oh, God.
But apparently that's just clinical talk for getting older because everyone, the specialist told me everybody's got it. He said your MRI looks like if I had 148 at the time I was 48, right? 148-year-olds come into the office with who led the type of active life you say you do with the type of exercise and jiu-jitsu or boxing, whatever it is you're doing at the time.
Yeah.
He said they'd all look the same. That's just what it is.
Yeah.
So
man.
I'm healing up. I'm doing really slow therapy, but it's coming back, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I'm lucky too. I used to skateboard a lot, and I wore knee pads my whole life, so I got pretty good knees. But I know a lot of people that didn't. They got fucked up knees from skating. But I prided myself on always wearing pads, and I feel like that definitely is paying off for me in my older age when I still skate. You know what I mean? Protecting your shit when you're younger.
Yeah, man. Gotta take care of the joints. That's
yes.
That's key.
Well, on that note, I think it's past our bedtime here in California, and I appreciate your time, Matty. I appreciate being my friend. I appreciate everything you've done, and I will be hanging out in real life soon for sure.
Absolutely, brother. I appreciate you reaching out. This is a lot of fun, and
awesome.
We'll talk soon.
All right, brother. Take care.
Yep, you too.
Bye. Hey, guys. Thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to do the next one.